Hi. So I'm pretty sure you have seen my Kraken videos somewhere on TikTok or Facebook or YouTube, and you probably wondered how did I animate them or how is it made or stuff like that. Well, hopefully in this video I would be able to show you how I animated step by step, and quite literally step by step. Okay, so let's start from the very start. You want to hop over to Blend Swap, link is in the description, and you want to download this Kraken V1 rig model I've uploaded. Cool, with the blend file downloaded, you want to open it up in your current Blender version. Now, just delete all the text and junk, and you're pretty much ready to go. Okay, cool, so, with this blend file opened up, we should be able to see a Kraken, and with this Kraken we have a super basic rig. Now, majority of this project we're going to work in solid view because it just makes the viewport much faster. And now let me just give you a quick rundown of the rig. So if you go from object mode into pose mode, usually what I do is I hold down. Oh, okay, tab does not work. But anyway, so go from object mode into pose mode, and you'll have a bunch of controls here. So you'll have this, and you have this, but don't touch this because that is laggy and broken and busted. So we'll only be working with 4 bones. 1, 2, 3 for the legs. There you see, IK. And then 1 for the body. The body is the one that'll be animated first. So basically, how this is gonna work is we're gonna move the body and pretend this fin is already walking, and then once that is done animated, we'll do the bones, or like the feet next. So just pretend it's like walking around in a weird pose, and then after that we'll accommodate for those actions and by animating the feet. And there is a specific way of animating the feet. The general rule is only one can be up in the air. Unless it's sprinting, then it will use its 2 front legs to go like this, make contact, and this one will kick it off and then make the next contact, and then repeat it again by doing the 2 front legs. So that's the basic way to animate. Okay, now, say you fiddled around with the rig and you find this fin in a weird pose. What you're gonna do is select everything and press Alt-R, Alt-G, and Alt-S. Basically, just move it to the default position. Now, okay, we gotta set up a block environment. Cool. Now, before we animate, we gotta start setting up a basic environment for the feet to make contact with. To do that, let's make a new collection and call it environment, or env if you're lazy. So obviously when you're going to animate, you're probably going to want to animate on your full scene, or like with most of the props where it's going to be interacted with. But for now, for this test, we're just going to do basic blocks, spheres, and whatever. So let's start by making a floor. This is going to be our floor. Just to help us see better, let's just give it a new material. Call it, if it's going to load, env. And it doesn't matter where the surface is. Let's just make it green, like a ugly dark green. But the viewport display material, or the viewport color, that's going to help us out a lot. So if we do that, there we go. Now, another thing we can do to see better if the feet are making contact is we go to this, we go to this little dropdown next to your shading dropdown, and we enable cavity, set cavity to world, and that is basically a ambient occlusion. If you want to increase the effects, just up the valley, I think. Yeah, there you go. Cool, now we have basic ambient occlusion, and we can see what we're doing. I'm just gonna unhide this rig. Okay, and let's start by building this environment. So I'm gonna make a big floor. We're just gonna go in straight environments for now. So let's make a goal here. We want to get onto this big cube, and he is gonna have to jump from this cube. So there's gonna have to be a jump. And also to get onto this cube, we're gonna have to make stairs. So just quickly and badly making stairs like this. And also, why not do a wall climb? So, whilst you're building your environment, you want to think of cool ways you can maneuver this duck. Let's make the wall here, and this big. Okay, cool. So, let's, okay, so let me show you what I have in mind here. Just want to get rid of these ugly artifacts. I think it's called Z-fighting or Z-clipping. Okay, so anyway. So the Kraken is going to go in a straight line, and it's going to do a little curve because there's a wall now, because it has to accommodate its full radius of legs, and it's going to go up here. But whilst it's climbing here, it's going to make contact with his one foot on this wall, and he is going to come to a little bit of a pause, just to prepare some velocity or momentum, and then, once that is done, he is going to leap off here, and yeah, then he is gonna attack a monkey. Poor little monkey. Cool, so let's just assign the environment, all the materials. Control link materials. Okay, just gotta get rid of this grease pencil. And now let's start animating. So, as I said earlier, there can only be 1 foot up in the air. So usually what I like to do is I, first of all, go into pose mode, and let's hide all these junk bones. So select all the things you're gonna need, like the body and the feet. And then press Ctrl I to invert the selection. Press M to move them to a different layer. If you want those bones back, you can always go to your object data properties. That's weird. I would just call it the skeleton group thing. And so you'll easily see there are multiple layers. It's kind of like a system of the old Blender, like you have these dots in little blocks, and that's basically your layers. But yeah, if you shift and hold click on the other layer, it'll bring it back. So just to make things more visually clear, we're just going to be working with the isolated layer. Okay, cool. Enable this move thing, and we're going to be using our 3D cursor a lot, so you got to get comfortable with this guy. Okay, so let's select the body and move it a little bit more down. Also, let's turn on X-ray so we can see what we're doing. Viewport display in front. It's not called X-ray anymore; it's called in front. Okay, so let us start animating this guy's speed. Let's give us more than enough frames. Always animate more than you want, and you can adjust the speed like that. So we're gonna start just by making basic keyframes. So 1 keyframe like that. I'm just gonna move this keyframe up till here, and move them back. And then we move these like that, just so that he has initial velocity. If you do that, then he's just gonna slope into speed. But if you have a keyframe before the first frame, then he's just gonna start with regular speed, like you're studying or you just started filming it whilst it's in action. Okay, so we're working at 24 frames by default, and let's go to frame 60. I am just guessing here. Okay, cool. And let's see it. Yeah, that's a nice speed. Can be a little bit faster. And then with frame 60, let's bring him a little bit closer into the wall. So go to your last keyframe, move him a little bit closer into the wall. Now, I would, for the next keyframe, it's going to be a short one, and we want to essentially tilt his body up because he's going to have, wait, where did that go? We're going to have to tilt his body sideways because he's essentially going to have a leg sticking to the wall. So to keep his balance, he has to accommodate for that. Let's make him a little Kraken. Yeah, so he's going to have to accommodate for that slope he's going to take. Always keep that in mind. When he's going forward, you can slope up or down, but I find it a little bit more natural if he's mostly level-ish. But if it's from the side, do a slope, because that looks better. Okay, cool. So now to get back. So he is going to have to slope. So we're going to have to move him forward and slope him. And maybe slope him up. Okay, cool. And let's go just to a random place on the timeline. And always keep in mind of the height. Always leave like, I would say a meter. So maybe a meter should be fine. Okay, so let's see the speed. Yeah, you can see he just slowed down. Something to help is, it's called a motion path. And basically you just max that out. And what it does is it makes little stripy bits to tell you like how far apart frames are, or keyframes. So select the bone you want and go to motion paths and enable calculate. Don't know what settings to use. So you can see your slowdown. So each of these dots represents how far the timing is. So you can see we have some pretty equally spaced dots here, but what the fuck happens when he slopes here? So let's fix that by essentially moving this keyframe earlier and update the path. There you go. Nice and equally sloped. Now let's see it again. Hey, that is looking good. Okay, I want to refine the animation a little bit, but we'll do that once we have our speed correct and our general trajectory correct. Okay. So he just climbed the wall, and now he has to settle back to being equal because there is no wall left. Okay, and I'm just totally guessing this again. If the motion path is bugging you, you can always go to this overlays dropdown and disable motion paths. I'll toggle between that just to like see every now and then what I'm doing. And yeah, okay, that's gonna be off for now. Okay, now we gotta adjust his rotation. I'm gonna press Alt-R, but say you have him facing this way and you press Alt-R, that is just gonna snap him to his default pose or default rotation, but in this case, it works. In other cases, you might want to manually rotate it back. Yeah. So he's gonna rotate back to his normal position, and we're gonna give him some clearance here. So okay, now we gotta do a build-up. So basically, he's gonna stand up, go a little bit down because he's building up momentum, and once he's done building momentum, he's gonna do a leap of faith. I hope that grease pencil explains it. So let's make him go more forward and crouch down because he's building up. Move that keyframe a little bit. Crouching up a little bit closer. And then he is... Should he be rotated forward? We can always change that. So even lower, and we're backwards. Okay, cool. And make a hold frame here. And then we're gonna yeet this guy into mid-air. Okay, so how this jumping is gonna work is he's gonna go like this, but his most heaviest point is probably in his body here. So what's gonna happen is his body is gonna pick up the most momentum or velocity, and so therefore his upper body will rotate a little bit. So he's making like a belly bash, if that makes sense. Okay, so right now he started with this velocity, so his head will be facing towards that. But as we come to the middle of this gap, we want to start rotating him back like this. Okay, so let's see this. It looks a little bit clunky, but this is where our motion paths can help us. So just always update your motion paths if you don't trust it. Cool, so you can see it's not like a typical jumping arc. It's like, this is supposed to be the middle point and the high point. So we can always do that. And okay, so when he lands, he needs to like have a little bit dip. He is catching his own weight, and he needs to like just smoothen out that landing. He needs basically car shocks. Like if you just ramped a car, your car is going to use its shocks and it's going to go downwards because it has a lot of weight to it. So always account for that weight. So he's jumping, doing a little thing. He's rotating forward just to grab his weight and also sagging down. You can do that even more. And then gradually he stands up and regains his posture. But we do that slowly. Cool. Okay, so let's see it in action. Okay, he's climbing the wall. Ooh, okay, this is a problem area. You can see like all the keyframes are just way too slow. So it's between here and there. So let's fix that, scooch these up, and update paths. Okay, let's see this. Okay, so there's something wrong with this jump. I feel like the curve or the height might be too high. And whilst it's already in the middle, I feel like that's when it should be tilting back. Not tilting that far back. Okay, I feel like this jump might be a little bit too slow now. So let's fix that by scooching in these frames, just scaling them. And let's see this now. Too fast, so half that speed. So let's scale that. By the way, selecting these keyframes, I just press B and scale or G. S or G is to scale and grab them. Okay, so let's see this now. Okay, so the impact has no it has no impact. So let's rotate it forward. Boom. Okay, let's see this again. Basically, just nudge your keyframes, give it some rotation, keep weight and velocity in mind. And yeah, okay, cool. And now for the final thing, we're gonna just have a little bit rest. Maybe inspect that monkey. He's definitely looking at a monkey. And now we're gonna do a build up of velocity, so give it more, just a teeny little bit of keyframes. Give it a weird rotation and set it back. And then we're gonna jump him up. And then what's gonna happen is he's gonna have his legs forward and he's gonna peg that thing in the head. And from here on out, okay, cool, he just landed and we're gonna lift him up. Just a slight little lift, and let's see. Let's, okay, so he's slowly looking at that thing, which is creepy. We're gonna go for creepy, but it's a little bit not too creepy. So what I'm doing is I'm duplicating this frame where he's supposed to rest, and I'm moving it a little bit closer here. So watch what happens. Okay. So I'm gonna move all these last keyframes here a little bit. And so now he's dead still. So we want to give it some life. So just jiggle it a little bit. So now he snaps onto that thing, but then he automatically goes into a pose. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna duplicate this and then this. So when he snaps, just give it some life there. Okay, that jump attack is way too slow. So let's select the keyframes, scale that down even more. So that build up or that momentum has way too, it's way too fast. Okay, that looks natural. And so it just attacked the monkey, and now we just gotta bring it into a relaxed state. Okay, and just to show you how we're gonna rotate this thing, let's rotate it to look at the camera, saying we're the next target. Basically, you don't want this thing to be dead still. So what I'm doing is I'm adding more keyframes with slight movements and rotations. Always move it and always rotate it. Just don't rotate it because then it's too robotic and unnatural. I mean, it is robots. Okay, cool. So let's check our animation without the motion paths. Save this. Firstly, just save your progress. Let's see it. So we're keeping our eye on the body, and it's climbing. Okay, good. It's going to do a build up. It's going to land. It's going to focus onto the monkey, and it's going to attack the monkey. Cool. So it's basically a game of pretending where the legs are going to be from here on out. This is super tricky and super ugly, so I might speed this thing up, but I'm going to show you till... I'm basically going to show you the whole process. Fuck it. Yeah. So let's move a leg forward, and let's move this leg back. Then let's move this one back. Okay, so the furthest leg from the back moves next. So I assume this one is going to be the furthest. In fact, no, let's make the back leg. Yeah, like this and like this. Cool, so we just have a nice spread out legs. So the furthest leg is going to move first, which is, let's make the back leg first. Okay, cool. From here on out, we move the keyframe, and you see like that pop. Okay, move it like a few keyframes in, and move it as far as you can before it looks weird. Cool. Now, what's going to be the next leg? So I feel like, let's go anti-clockwise. Let's go clockwise. Okay, so this leg is going to be here. So just where you place your foot on that keyframe, make sure you have a keyframe. I'm using auto key in. So to auto key, you just shift it a little bit, and it should automatically key it once you press left click. So this leg, the furthest leg, I'm going to move it. Click, and you see it just made a keyframe. Now, move it a little bit in, and then on your timeline, then we're gonna move it like this. Cool. And the furthest leg, or the most weird looking one, grab it, insert a keyframe. There we go. Okay, so let me show you. Hey, it's walking badly. So What we're going to have to do now is we're going to have to lift these feet up. So in between the two keyframes you just made, just lift it up. Same for this one. Lift it up. Yeah, let's continue with this. So this one is the furthest now. Give it a few keyframes before this one stretches as far as you can, and insert a keyframe on the ugliest looking one, and then move that as far as you can before it looks weird. Insert a keyframe there. Now this one, insert a keyframe. So basically only one foot can move at a time, and the furthest foot is the one that will move next. So this one looks like it's the furthest. And then move that as far as you can. Then this guy is definitely looking weird. Okay, cool. So I'm going to insert a keyframe here, and then this is the tricky part. It's going to have to climb this wall. So let's use our 3D cursor. Hold down Shift and right click to move the 3D cursor. That will always snap onto geometry. So Shift click and Shift S, selection to cursor, and there we go. It's making contact, but we'll fix that later. In fact, let's fix that now. You can see the body doesn't give us much leeway. It needs to be more like this to fix it. So let's go before this keyframe, and let's insert a keyframe here. Just jiggle it and press G or G, jiggle it, and that should insert a keyframe when you click left click. Okay, now let's go to the offending keyframe. That's where we're going to do the body tilt. Yeah. And at 70, let's also move it a little bit where it's not offending as much. Same for this one, it needs to be further. Okay, let's see what we have so far. Yeah, it's doing the thing. It's definitely doing the thing. I mean, there's a little bit of a stretch here going on, so I might want to... You know what, it's fine. If it's in motion and you don't see it, it's fine. Just add motion blur. Okay, cool. Move it, move it, move it. Now this is the furthest leg. Oh wait, this one is the furthest leg. So once it makes contact there, insert a keyframe, another frame, and insert it as far as you can. Cool. Take the furthest one and ugliest one, keyframe, move up there. Now, since these are stairs and I'm not gonna struggle by placing it there, I'm gonna shift right click my mouse and place the foot. So it's shift right click and press shift S to bring up this pie menu and selection to cursor. I am sorry if I did not show that earlier. My mistake. Move it as far as you can. And I feel like this guy can get more leverage. Okay, when this one's inserted, we're gonna go to its insertion. See, okay. This one stretches badly, so let's go to a frame where it doesn't stretch and move the last placed foot key on that. Key that foot. And let's place it as far as we can. Okay, so you see this foot is going to stretch regardless. So that means it's not as far as it could be. So let's go to its last keyframe and move it even further. You see that sort of gives us more leeway. So this one, let's move its keyframe a little bit closer. And insert keyframe on this one. And let's put it down there on the stairs. This thing, this Kraken, canonically, it can stick to anything. So it's a little robot spider. Okay, so this foot has been placed, so let's select the most offending foot, insert a keyframe, move it up a little bit, and I'm using the cursor, so place the cursor wherever you think it should be, Shift S and selection to cursor. Okay, cool. And basically just repeat your steps. I think we're done with the sidewalls wall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it there. Okay, cool. This guy is next. Just fixing the keyframes. Okay. Okay, and it's officially on the stairs. Okay, so let's do the in-betweens. Every gap here is going to need a keyframe that goes up for all the legs. Up, like way up for this one, way up for this one, and up for this one. Cool, let's do the back leg. Up for this one, up for this one, up, up. Okay, now for this one. Okay, this frame we can leave alone. That should be fine. And so since it's like going sideways, we want to do it sideways. Sideways for this one. And then here's a gap we didn't do. Okay, so let's see how this animation looks so far. Hey, and it looks good. Okay, making good progress. So right now we're just doing the basics. After that, we're going to refine the body, give it more sway, and make it more believable. Okay, so with the animation done for like getting up the stairs, what is left is the jump, settle, and attack. So, as I said earlier, there is like, he comes to stop and he builds his momentum. So, let's not make it weird. There needs to be like at least 2 feet in front of him. So, once the last placed foot, this one. Yeah, let's insert a keyframe for this one. Move it a little bit like this. Cool, and then this one. This one you want to get as far in as possible because this leg is going to be the one that thrusts him away. This one is going to have the most power, the most impact. So you want to get this one as far as possible. Okay. Once this one settles, quickly move this one here. Okay. Insert just before they stretch, just before all of them stretch. Grab all the legs and insert a keyframe. Okay. This leg should stretch because this one has the most momentum. So just move the bone up a little bit so that it doesn't stretch. And then these 2 legs, I'm going to move them simultaneously. Let's have one leg reaching up. It's a cat. It needs to accommodate for what's going to happen next. So let's leave this one as far as we can at the back. Okay, cool. Later on in the animation, the 2 front legs need to start accommodating for what's going to happen. So this one is going to start reaching out. This one is also going to start reaching out, but not as much as the other one. And then this back leg is going to start bending. And then this leg is going to touch the floor first. This one is going to be second. And this leg is gonna go a little bit down. It's also accommodating for where it's gonna touch. Okay, so it just landed, and then this foot needs to make contact. It's second endpoint packed, so it can go as far as it needs to. Okay, so we have a little bit of a impurity here. So I'm gonna delete this keyframe. Yeah, this looks a little bit funny, so let's leave this one a little bit more back. Okay, now it's starting to look good. Okay, let's sort that lost leg out. And when you think it's good enough, place it down as far as you can. Not as far as you can, but so it looks good. Okay, so it's curling up a little bit way too fast, so we want that to drag to sell the animation. Okay, let's play this again. There we got a jump! Sweet, okay, we got a jump now. Now, we don't have to animate as much here because the body is mostly staying in one spot. So we can sort of just leave it be to its magic. But I feel like this leg can adjust. It'll look just a little bit more natural if we adjust this leg. So after a while, keep the placement here. Then let's adjust it so it's like this. And do a mid-frame where it lifts up. A little bit too fast. Give it some space. Same for this one on the right. So once that one's done, insert a keyframe and position it so it looks more natural. Do an up frame. Okay, and just before this duck makes any radical movements, insert keyframes. Okay, so it's leaning backwards, so I assume this leg should go like this to support its weight. So there is a keyframe inserted, so let's go like this. Put that in, lift it up. And let's say this one is going to have the most impact because it just moved backwards. So it's going to go and it's going to slice this guy. It's literally going to hit it with a golf club, like Joel. Okay, so wait till there's momentum. So this duck is going full force now. And this is where we're going to slice it. So bring it as far out as you can. And hit the shit out of this. Okay, cool. So the back leg is stretching a little bit, so let's fix that. Okay, stretching is good. That sells the momentum. Let's lift it up. Let's plant it to the floor. It's a little bit too fast, so let's slow it down. A little bit too slow, so let's speed it up. Okay, cool. And yeah, let's see the animation so far. Looking good, looking good. Jump. Adjust legs. Focus. build up animation, and attack. And he's just having a peace of mind. He's a little bit, what the fuck is going on? Okay, cool. Now, insert a keyframe insert a keyframe for all the legs before this duck does anything radically. So, keyframe. Okay, cool. Now he's going to rotate and see the leg that's going to go the weirdest. So, select that leg and just move it a little bit so it's not that weird. Same for this leg. So the weirdest leg you want to adjust first. So once that foot is placed down, we're going to insert a keyframe and move that up to where it looks natural. Insert a midframe where it goes up. Now just that back leg. See, only one leg can be up at any time, like just only one leg. Insert a midframe for this one. And just for making this look natural, I'm gonna make this one adjust the foot so it works better. Okay, sweet. I feel like we should do something with this monkey. So I am gonna make a object constraint child of, and I'm just gonna select when it pales in. I'm gonna make a keyframe on that. So I'm just gonna select that leg, clear inverse, set inverse, 100% of the influence, and the frame before that, 0% influence. So once that is set, the monkey should be parented to his leg. Boom. Okay, cool. Now let's refine this animation a little bit. Let's search out all the glitches and issues and fix that. So let's go back to pose mode. And the biggest issue I noticed was with his leg going through here. So let's go back to our bone layers, skeleton layers, and enable the other junk. Cool. So what we're going to use is not this one. We're going to use this one. And so we can keyframe this. But it's always good to have it zeroed out using Alt-R. So Alt-R, insert a keyframe on it being zeroed out. And let's fix that. Basically, you're going to have to figure that out on your own. Like, just nudge it till it looks good. Insert a keyframe here. There it snaps. It's weird. So Alt-R. Yeah, so you're just going to have to take some initiative on what to do with these. Just figure them out. They rotate extremely weirdly. But yeah. Once everything is looking good, insert a keyframe. A few frames later on, press Alt-R to zero it out where it needs to be. And then, yeah. Okay. So right now, this duck is just gliding up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add more motion. So you see when this foot lifts up, I feel like the duck should tilt more to the left. So there is a keyframe of its rotation and location inserted. So when it let's move it like this. That's too much. So basically just refining the animation now. So it looks good. Ta-da! And that is easy Quacken animation. If you know how to place cameras, or if you don't know, I'm gonna place some cameras. So I'm gonna make a new collection, cameras. I always like to make it pink if it's a camera. Okay, so cameras are easy. You gotta go out of pose mode, and then you add, you can always go to add, but I use Shift A and add a camera. I usually leave it on the nifty 50. That's just a millimeter that works with basically almost everything. So I'm gonna add a camera like here. Okay. Until it gets here. Okay, so to mark a camera or to bind a camera, you press M on your timeline and Control B, and now that marker is basically where your camera will be activated. So if we move this a little bit on, let's duplicate this camera. To switch to that camera, you press Control 0 on your numpad. Now let's position this a little bit further. Okay, make another marker and bind it. So do you see, we're switching cameras. So this camera, I feel like it needs to be rotated or moved to Quacken a little bit. So let's animate that. Okay, just when that duck jumps, I want to cut. So I'm going to make a new marker. Now we're going to make a new camera. And Control numpad 0 and turn off auto keyframing. And now make a new marker with M and press Control B bind on the timeline. Okay. I feel like this camera should also be animated. So auto keyframing on. Okay, and it just landed, so let's make a new keyframe or new marker, and let's add a new camera. Auto keyframe off. Camera, Control Alt 0. Let's hide this issue on the floor. Okay, let's bring in the monkey, and now with the marker on your timeline, press Control B to bind. I feel like we should animate this one as well. So where it stands up, gently move it down. And just keep the duck in focus. Once the duck locks onto the monkey, that's when the camera should awkwardly look. Yeah, so we want to space it out so the duck looks first, and then the camera realizes, oh shit, yeah, there's something. And then the camera will look towards that. You want to keep NV action as much as possible. Okay, let's make a new camera, make a new marker, auto keyframing off, add a new camera, control number pad 0, and move that camera to where the duck is supposed to look at us. Also bind your camera before you scrub through your timeline with control B. Let's place the camera right where it needs to be. So how many frames is this animation? 520. Yeah. So let's look at the animation. Yeah, and this feels smooth. I am quite satisfied with this. Just a cool tip, just add motion blur if you have any glitches or like any penetration in the floor or walls with its legs. Just hide that shit with camera shake, camera moves, or motion blur, or bloom, or lens flare. You have so many options to hide your issues. Okay, cool. I'm gonna render this and let's see the final result. Cool. I'm quite satisfied with the results. I'm pretty sure if I tweak it a little bit longer and just refine the animation, then it would be pretty much close to perfect, but that's going to take a lot more effort. But yeah, if you do end up making something with this, or if you just make a cool video, or if you just use the Kraken rig, please do tag me on Facebook or Instagram, or just leave a comment saying like, yo, I made something, go check out my channel. I would really appreciate to see what you guys can do with this. Cool, cheers.